Look around for a moment. How often do we decide who someone is before they even speak? A glance at their clothes, a look at the car they drive, the way they pronounce certain words, the neighborhood they come from, the phone in their hand, the confidence in their posture, and almost without noticing it, a verdict forms. Important, ordinary, successful, irrelevant, worth listening to, not worth our time. This is one of the oldest habits of society. We judge quickly because it feels efficient. It gives the illusion of understanding, but most of the time it is not understood at all. It is simply an assumption dressed as certainty. Appearance has become the favorite refuge of a society that wants fast answers but rarely takes time to see deeply. And that is where one of the most painful human mistakes begins. Because of the hurry to judge, many people end up dismissing precisely those who carry the most truth within them. A person may walk quietly into a room and be ignored because they do not look impressive. No expensive clothes, no polished language, no visible symbols of power. But inside that person may live courage that survived years of hardship, wisdom shaped by loss, kindness built in places where life offered very little mercy. Yet none of that is visible at first glance, and that is the tragedy. We have learned to notice shine more than substance. We have become skilled at recognizing status and strangely blind when it comes to character. Humility rarely makes noise. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It does not need to prove anything. Humility simply exists. That is exactly why it often disappears in a world obsessed with image. Today, appearing important often earns more admiration than being upright. Looking successful often receives more respect than living honestly. Being seen has become more valuable than being real. And slowly, without realizing it, people begin to perform instead of becoming. They polish the surface and neglect the foundation. They build appearances while their inner life remains fragile. And time always reveals that fragility. Because there are people surrounded by enormous wealth, influence, and recognition, yet when life tests them, something becomes impossible to hide. Emotional poverty, a lack of compassion, a lack of depth, a lack of inner strength, a lack of humanity. The truth is simple. Money can buy comfort, it can buy access, it can buy attention, but it cannot buy peace of conscience, it cannot buy dignity, it cannot buy moral courage, it cannot buy the ability to remain kind after suffering, and that matters more than most people realize. Some people have almost nothing in material terms, no fame, no luxury, no public applause, and yet they possess something many wealthy people spend their entire lives unable to purchase: humanity. They know how to listen, they know how to share, they know how to understand another person's pain, they know how to remain decent even when life has not been generous. That is wealth. Not the kind displayed in photographs, the kind revealed in choices, the kind visible in difficult moments, the kind remains when everything external disappears. Judging by appearances does not truly say much about the person being judged. It says far more about the observer, because shallow judgment often reveals a shallow perception. It reveals impatience. It reveals insecurity. It reveals a mind that confuses visibility with value. Whoever truly understands life learns something different. They learn to look beyond what is obvious. They learn to pay attention to actions, to consistency, to integrity, to see how someone behaves when there is no reward, to see how they treat people who cannot offer them status, to see how they speak when they have power, to see how they remain when they are wounded. That is where character lives. Not in the facade, not in the performance, not in the carefully edited image. Real character reveals itself in ordinary moments. In the waiter who is treated with respect, in the stranger who receives patience, in the promise that is kept, breaking it would be easier, in the silence of someone who does not need applause to do what is right. Many of the noblest people you will ever meet are often the ones who have suffered the most, people who know pain personally, people who know scarcity, people who know humiliation, people who know rejection. They have stood in rooms where they were underestimated. They have carried burdens nobody noticed. They have fought battles nobody applauded. And yet, somehow, they did not become cruel. They did not become bitter. They did not lose the ability to help. They did not lose the ability to listen. They did not lose the ability to act with dignity. That is extraordinary. Because pain can harden a person, but sometimes pain does something deeper. It teaches compassion. It teaches perspective. It teaches patience. It teaches that every person carries a story you cannot see. And once you understand that, you stop judging so quickly. You begin to realize that behind quiet eyes there may be enormous resilience. Behind modest clothing there may be profound wisdom. Behind a hesitant voice there may be years of courage. And behind someone society overlooks may stand a human being of rare depth. The problem is that we live in a time where appearance has become a measure of respect. What is visible is admired. What is essential is ignored. The loud voice is remembered. The sincere one is often overlooked. And little by little, society loses something important: the ability to recognize real wealth. Not wealth of possessions, not a wealth of display, not wealth of social approval, the wealth of the heart, the wealth of conscience, the wealth of humanity. And that loss is dangerous, because when appearance becomes the standard, people begin to chase admiration instead of truth. They become afraid of seeming ordinary, afraid of vulnerability, afraid of being unseen. So they hide who they are. They build masks. They polish identities. They create versions of themselves designed to be accepted. But a life built only for appearance eventually becomes exhausting, because no one can perform forever. At some point, the surface cracks, and when it does, what remains is what truly matters. Not an image, not applause, not reputation. Character, conscience, depth, humanity. True greatness does not always dress well. It does not always speak beautifully. It does not always enter with confidence, and it does not always attract attention. Sometimes true greatness walks quietly. Sometimes it carries tired eyes. Sometimes it carries scars. Sometimes it carries invisible grief. Sometimes it carries years of silent endurance. And often it carries humility. That kind of greatness is easy to miss, especially if you only know how to look at surfaces. But those who learn to pause, those who learn to observe, those who learn to look without prejudice, they begin to notice something extraordinary. The deepest value rarely comes wrapped in luxury. Sometimes it sits quietly in the background. Sometimes it speaks softly. Sometimes it arrives unnoticed. And sometimes the most remarkable person in the room is the one no one thought to admire. So the next time you meet someone, resist the impulse to decide too quickly. Do not let clothing define your respect. Do not let status determine your attention. Do not let appearances become your measure of human worth. Because the person you overlook today may carry more truth than the people everyone applauds. And perhaps wisdom begins there, not in learning how to be admired, but in learning how to truly see. Because when you learn to see beyond appearance, you discover something beautiful. The world is full of quiet greatness, and most of it has never needed to announce itself. If you loved this video, make sure to like this and subscribe to this channel for more content like this.